like to call to order the Finance Committee of June 28th, 2022 at 5 o'clock sharp. First item of business is the approval of minutes, draft minutes of June 14th, 2022 Finance meeting and the June 15th, 2022 CIP presentations to Finance. Do I have a motion?
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll place the motion to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to item 3, public appearance, non-agenda items. Unless there's no one in chambers or Zoom, so we will move on to item 4, finance report by Director Misty Dodge. Misty, you have the floor.
I'm going to keep this short because we have a very full agenda tonight. Just a reminder that CIP proposed amendments are due next week, Tuesday, 4:30, using the form that I sent out to all of you.
That was brief. Thank you. Item 5, review of bills. 5A, detailed review of checks for $10,000 and above, June 1st through 15th, 2022, totaling $279,441.68. Discussion. Hearing none. 5B, detailed review of all checks issued. Checks 123562 through 123607 for the period of June 1st through 15th, 2022, totaling $357,572.49. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, we'll move on to 5C. Detailed review of P-card transactions for $10,000 and above for the cycle ending May 6, 2022. Total $246,213.87. Discussion. Hearing none, we will move on to 5D, review of P-card transactions for cycle ending May 6, 2022. Total dollars, $417,607.34. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none. Moving on to action items. Action item 6A, the 2021 audit presentation. Baker Tilly Fitchburg Cross LLP. And I think I'll turn this over to you, Misty, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, so I'll just kick it off as we start sharing our screen. So this is something we do every year to the Finance Committee. Vasvi is one of the auditors. She will share with you some financial highlights from this last year, and then also be available to answer any questions or concerns that you guys have. I'll be relatively silent. This is a chance for you guys to speak directly to the external auditors.
Thank you so much, Misty. Good evening, everyone. Myself, Vasvi Joshi. I'm a senior manager at Baker Tilly, and we are based out of Madison office, and been doing the city's audit for last several years, and it's always a pleasure. I really enjoy the city's audit. I wanted to share with you this lovely document that is the city's annual comprehensive financial report. It's 135 pages long. And really, I'll go over just a couple things in this report, and then we'll move over to a shorter presentation that I've prepared. Overview of the audit process is that we look at the city's processes and control, and then we dive deeper into all the financial transactions, look at a lot of supporting documentations, we confirm account balances, a lot of other, substantive analytics and other procedures that we do to be able to give something, we call it an opinion on the city's financial statements. So that is what this 2 or 3 pages is, the Independence Auditor's Report. And I'm pleased to announce that the city has received a clean or unmodified audit opinion, which is the highest level of assurance we can provide as auditors. which means everything, all the numbers that you are seeing in this report are materially correct, they're audited, and people can rely on those numbers. So that's the 2 or 3 page opinion we have. And then what follows is a document that Misty prepared as part of the audit, which is called Management's Discussion and Analysis. So that's really a comparative, data information between this year and prior year, and giving some highlights and reasonings behind how things change and why things change. So it has income statement information and capital assets and debt and budget to actual comparative. So that's the information, and it's all prepared by Misty. So if you have, there is one thing you want to focus on, maybe it is this document that will give you a really nice high-level information about the activity that has gone through last 2 years, basically. So those are the 2 documents, 2 segments, and then everything else is just more detailed numbers and all that. So we will not go over those numbers. I will just maybe move on to another presentation that I have prepared. Are you able to see this other screen now, or okay? It's called financial highlights. You're able to see that? Okay.
Nope, we still see the after.
Oh, see after. Okay, I will stop sharing and share again. Okay, so that's the financial highlights information. So what we've done is we've taken the data from the city's financial statements for last couple of years, and in some instances, maybe even last 5 years, and we are presenting some graphical, information, so trend data and that kind of stuff. So the very first page you are seeing here is the general fund balance and different categories of fund balance, which is the top portion of the graph. And the black bar is last year, and green bar is the current year information. And the categories you are seeing, we start from the bottom, which is the most restrictive, the non-spendable, restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned. So these are the categories that are defined by the accounting standards. They tell us what we can put in each category and all that. So the non-spendable fund balance, as you can see, has gone up from last year by about 600,000. So really this is the fund balance that the city is just not able to spend because it's tied up in whether prepaids and that kind of long-term assets. And the reason it has gone up is because the city advanced some money to TID District 10, just, cash flow issues that happens when the TID is in the expenditure period. So city decided to internally advance that money between general fund and the TID, and that means about that much of money the general fund is not able to spend right away because it's tied up. It has given it to the TID to use it for a little bit of time. And then the next category is restricted, which is, pretty consistent. It's last year and doesn't have anything in the committed category. The assigned fund balance is what the city chooses to set aside for specific purposes. So it could be for a subsequent year budget spending, for compensated absences like sick leave and that kind of stuff. The city has set aside that money, and it's about 4.2 million again this year, and the remaining almost 7.6 million is free and available for the city to use it for any other purposes that you want. So overall, as you can see, the total fund balance for general fund has gone up about almost close to 900,000. And in the middle section, we show how it has gone up compared to budget, that the city had. So in the budget, the city had anticipated actually using fund balance of 950 some thousand, but we ended up into a positive 871. So that's a variance of almost 1.8 million. And several reasons as you can see, the variance column has favorable variances both in the revenues and expenditure categories, but higher in the expenditure categories. And that's mainly because of, just some savings that city had in almost all departments. There were vacancies and that kind of stuff. So city didn't end up spending as much as, it had budgeted for. Um, so that is general funds, fund balance information. The next shows the trend information for general funds unassigned fund balance. So the city has a policy to keep the unassigned or the free, general funds fund balance between 15 to 25% of general funds revenues. So the orange line and then the pink line are the two, or orange and the black are the two kind of lower and the higher ranges that the city policy has decided. The Moody's target is at about 30%. And as you can see, city fund balance is way above any of those ranges, and it has consistently increased in the last 3 years. So, and it has gone slightly maybe down this year, but that's because, it's tied up in that non-spendable category, and city chose to set aside a little more in the assigned category. So still very healthy looking, well within or well above the city's, policy, and even above the ranges that some other governments have with similar population. So the two blue dots you are seeing are, other communities that Baker Tilly audits, which has a similar size of the city of Fitchburg. So really the city is well above all of them. So very healthy looking fund balance there. The next couple of slides are about the city's overall general obligation debt. So Wisconsin state statutes have a limit that you can't have more than 5% of the city's total equalized value in general obligation debt. So that is the black, trend line that you are seeing. That is how much debt the city is allowed to have as per the Wisconsin state statutes. But city has even further stricter policy to say, even though Wisconsin says 5%, we only want 3%. So that's the lighter green line. We are seeing, and the actual city debt is the darker green trend line below. So it is going up every year, but still well within, the city policy and well within the statutory limit. And you have to see that some of this debt is probably, and not probably, it is within the TIDs, and the TIDs are gonna pay for their own debt. So, no concerns there. And the utilities continue to remain debt free, so they don't have any long-term debt outstanding. This is all sitting in the governmental funds. And down below, we have provided a link where you can go and see what other communities your size, how much debt they have, because a lot of times we get asked like, hey, this is great, this is our trend information, but where do we stand compared to other communities? So if you are curious, you can go and search, data for any other communities within Wisconsin. Here's the trend information on debt service to capital or non-capital expenditures. And kind of looks like it just went up quite a bit this year, but it's a little bit misleading because the payment for this year includes almost $3 million of refunding, that was already, the city was planning to do that. And then remaining $3 million was just because TID 4 has extra cash, and then they decided to pay off their debt early. So really, if you back out those $6 million from the principal payment, then this 29.6% is going to drop down to 15%. So, even though, total, it looks like the city's debt is going up, but then this particular ratio is going down, so this was 19, 18, 20, and then it's like 15% in 2021. So again, a healthy, trend there. Next three slides are just a high-level overview of the three utilities that the city has: water, sewer, and storm. So the green trend information is the revenue, and the black is the operating expenses. So water utility is in a good spot there with revenues, higher than operating expenses. And down below, we also show unrestricted cash, because that is also one of the healthy parameters to see how much unrestricted cash reserves does the utility have. And it has gone down a little bit compared to last year, because that was kind of intentional. The city has built those cash reserves to spend on plant purchases. So there were heavy expenditures to pay for utility plant in 2021. Next, similar information for sewer utility. And as you can see, it's like the revenues are kind of barely trying to keep up with the operating expenses. So continue to do those yearly, rate adjustments, keep looking at how this looks, and make sure you're not going too down. It's like right now it's barely breaking even. And again, this utility also has healthy cash reserves, that's going to last for about 6 months. Not too concerned about that one. The last one is the storm water, and a little bit concerned here, but city has already done their rate adjustments in mid 2021. The new rates kicked in, so hopefully this will kind of catch up. As you can see, the green line is below, so your revenues are lower than operating expenses for the last few years, as you can see, last 4 years actually. So maybe this rate adjustment will help bring the revenue back again up and catch up with the expenses. And again, this utility also has healthy cash reserves that's going to last up to almost a year, 11 months. So cash position looks good, but continue to monitor those rates to make sure you don't go too much down there. So that's the small presentation I had. I wanted to share one more document that we provide as part of the audit. Okay, not that one. It's like I have 3, 4 PDFs open, so I'm like, which one? There you go. Okay. Okay, there you go. Okay. So this is the reporting and insights report that we provide as part of the audit. And really, this report is meant for you, the city council, the finance committee, and it talks about our responsibilities as auditors. Then it talks about the audit status and, our approach and plan and key areas, that we focused on. So, that's a really one document you can skim through. And one area I wanted to draw your attention to was internal control matters. And happy to report that we don't really have anything to report there, which means, there are no material weaknesses or deficiencies or anything that we found as part of the city audit, no material journal entries that we found. So that's really, huge credit to an awesome job that Misty does. She has all the records in like great shape, so we don't have to make any adjustments, which means any reports that she is providing to you it's all accurate, all the numbers, because we don't have any material changes to the numbers that she provided to us either. So, that's just one thing we wanted to draw your attention to. But then you can look through, there are other resources, other required communications. And we have, here is a link for, more resources if you want to look through. Here is information on audit team. So Andrea Jensen is the partner, my information, and a couple other audit members. So feel free to reach out to any of us anytime if you have any concerns or any questions or anything that you want to talk about with us. So we welcome your thoughts and inputs anytime. So I think that's about it. There's just new accounting standards and that kind of stuff. So we had just a couple of really small uncorrected misstatements. It's just a timing issue with water and storm utility, nothing material. So we decided, not to correct it, just it can be corrected in 2022. So it was just related to like a prepaid and things like that. So no concerns there. I think that's about it. That's all I needed to share. And I welcome your questions if you have any.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. We can open it up to the committee. Are there questions? Discussion? It doesn't appear so. So, hearing none, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much. Thanks for providing this opportunity to serve the city. And you guys have a nice evening. Bye.
Very good. You as well. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
All right. We will move on. The agenda, the next action item is 6B. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-100-22, approving a state municipal agreement to fund the South Saline and McCoy Road intersection improvements? It's a direct referral.
I move approval.
We have a motion for approval. And Misty, are you going to speak to this, or Bill will?
So why don't I start, and then Bill's here to support with any questions that you have for all of the Board of Public Works item. So the first one is the municipal agreement for the South Saline and McCoy Road intersection. So this is a project where we were able to secure some federal funding for it, passed through the DOT. So approving this would be approving that agreement with the DOT. The city does pay 100% of the design costs. Then we would pay 10% of the construction costs for the things that were eligible for the grant. And then we are responsible for any construction costs over the amount of the grant as well. So this is a project that was in the CIP and ready to move forward. And congratulations to Public Works for getting that grant to get it done.
Okay. Discussion. Hearing none, now I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next action item. Action item 6C. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-102-22, amending the County Trunk Highway MM and Lacey Road traffic signal budget? This is a direct referral.
I move approval.
We have a motion for approval. And Misty, will you speak to this as well?
Yep. So this is a project that's been in the works for a while. The project is actually done, I believe, but as the staff went back through the final numbers, they realized there was some miscalculations between the different funding sources. And so we need to true that up. The way that we're going to pay for it is we had additional borrowed funding in the McKee Road project that will transfer over to this project to make up the difference in the city's cost.
Very good. Discussion. Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to item 6D. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-110-22, approving the surcharge document for 2024 snowplow chassis? And this was postponed from the June 14th, 2022 meeting.
I move approval.
We have a motion for approval. And Misty, are you speaking? Bill?
Yep, I'll do this one too. So we postponed this at our last meeting, basically to follow suit with what Board of Public Works did. Board of Public Works has since approved it. So it's back on our agenda. Council and all of you approved the purchase of these two chassis a while ago now using our bid process. After the bids were approved, we got notice of the surcharge document that the vendor wanted us to sign that basically said, we're not going to get this equipment for a year or two, and we don't know what the price is going to be at that point. And the city is ultimately acknowledging that the price will vary depending on how long it takes to get that equipment.
Okay, very good. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, let's place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to 6E. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-113-22 authorizing the purchase of a R12ITSC5 GPS system, and this was postponed from the June 14, 2022 meeting as well.
Move approval.
I have a motion for approval. Misty.
Yeah, so this is another one that we postponed at the Finance Committee, basically to follow suit with what Board of Public Works did. They took it up at their last meeting and have now approved it. So it's here for Finance for approval as well. This is an item that was included in the budget to be replaced. It's split across a variety of different funds and different departments that all use the system. It is coming in more than budget. So there is a budget amendment associated with it, all of which is being accounted for in other areas, either projects that are not going to occur, vacancy savings, or other things like that.
Okay, very good. Discussion from the committee. Yes, Alder Gerhardt, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment. I had the pleasure of going out with Claudia Guy when she was still the environmental engineer to do some GPS surveying around the Burn Pond retrofit. Just, was curious what she did. And she let me do some of the GPS measurements when she had trained me, and getting that thing level is tricky, especially when you're on uneven ground. So I really like the ability that this can take an accurate measurement on an angle, especially in uneven terrain. I think that's really great in terms of safety, and I'm excited to see what the department's able to do with this. Thanks.
Very good. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving to 6F. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-114-22, amending the 2022 Library Fund budget, library book shelving?
I move approval.
We have a motion, or excuse me, approval. Misty, will you speak to this item as well?
I will. One of the standards that the library needs to meet in order to continue to exempt ourselves from the Dane County Library is the size of our collection. And a way for us to help grow our collection is to not dispose of as many books as we have in the past, but we need a place for those books to go. So what's in front of you now is the purchase of new library shelving for the picture books in the children's area. Right now, those books face out. Rather than the traditional bookshelf where the spines are out. So they'd like to replace that face out shelving, which is less efficient, can't hold as many books in the same amount of space, with the traditional spine out shelving. And they'll pay for that using the vacancy savings from the outreach position that was not filled at the beginning of the year. So it's a one-time savings for a one-time equipment cost.
Very good. This is there further discussion or any discussion? Just one comment. I know Misty, you and I spoke. This is really just a courtesy before council, correct?
Yeah, to an extent. So the library board really has a lot of autonomy about how they spend the money. The council decides how much property tax money to provide to them, but then the rest of it really is their decision making. But the library director and I have an understanding that we'll follow the normal city process still, just for transparency purposes. So yes, the library board technically has the authority to do this without council, but we just like to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Very good. Thank you. Any additional discussion, comments? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to item 6G. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-117-22, Police Department Taser Replacement?
I move approval.
Approval made by Alder Wheeler. Misty, are you speaking to this one as well?
Yep, I will take this one too. So tasers is the non-lethal equipment used in the police department in order to do their job. Those are up for replacement now. The cost did come in a little bit higher than what we had expected and budgeted for. So there's a budget amendment to transfer money from the operating budget within the police department because the disability premiums were waived again. So transfer that savings over to the capital projects fund in order to complete this purchase.
Very good. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to 6H. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-126-22, authorize the acceptance of the 2022 South Saline Road reconstruction bid? And this is a direct referral.
I move approval.
We have an approval. Misty.
Yes. So first I'll start by there are a lot of direct referrals on our meeting tonight. That's because our next meeting, the first meeting in July, has been canceled. So in order to keep things moving, there's a lot of direct referrals tonight, and then I expect there'll probably be a fair amount of direct referrals at our next meeting at the end of July because we missed that one in there. For this one in particular, so this is that South Saline Road reconstruction project. So it's over in that Lacey, Saline area up to about where the new Quick Trip's going, in that kind of ballpark. The bids have been received. Staff's recommending low bid, but it is still more than what was budgeted. So this is another one where there's a budget amendment associated with it to pay for those additional costs through either projects that had savings, projects that are no longer going to continue, things along those lines.
Very good. Discussion from the committee. Alder Gerhardt, go ahead.
Thanks. Do we know exactly how far over budget we are? Like, I feel like I saw the individual amounts coming from the different funds.
Bill, do you know that one?
Yeah, I'm getting my little calculator out here. Hold on.
And I guess I had a second question too for Misty. I noticed the strategy of transferring something from TID 13 to TID 9. Can you comment on what I'm not familiar with that strategy?
Yep. So TID 9 is the TID over in the Seminole Lacey area. And we borrowed money at the end of 2021 to pay for that Lacey Road reconstruction project and the intersection. And when we borrow money externally, there are spend down requirements that basically say how fast we have to spend that money. And because Lacey Road is being delayed again, I'm concerned about us being able to hit those spend down requirements. So I worked with our financial advisors, the auditors, VOSB, who you just saw, as well as the bond attorneys, to make sure that this reallocation of this borrowed money from the TID 9 project that's being delayed to this TID 13 project that we know is moving forward was acceptable and a good strategy to make sure we met the IRS or the bond requirements. So TID 13 will now pay that money back. Once we get this approved by council, I'll create a new payment schedule because TID 13 should be reimbursing that, not TID 9. But thought it would be a good way to put those funds to use in a way that was acceptable.
That makes a lot of sense.
$559,000, roughly.
$559.
$559,000.
Great.
And then
Thank you.
I believe we updated because there's another phase of this project coming down, and I believe the project and the CIP, those costs have been updated to reflect kind of the increased cost that we've seen too.
Yes.
Okay. Any additional questions? Discussion. Hearing none, we'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to 6I. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-128-22, approving an agreement with R.A. Smith for construction-related services for second addition to Terravesa, Highfield Reserve, Lacey Ridge Townhomes, and Ochala Drive Extension?
I move approval.
I have an approval. And Misty, are you speaking to this as well?
Yep, I will start, and of course, Bill can pitch in. So one of the engineers in the Public Works Department has requested a sabbatical over the summer, but a lot of the development projects still need to continue. So a way to accomplish that is we are proposing hiring a firm to do some of that development work on behalf of the staff, and then the full cost of that work will be charged back to the developers in order to pay for that work.
Very good. Questions?
Oh, I'm
Go ahead, Alder Gerhard, go ahead.
I'm curious. So there's no net cost to. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that the first time I read through. So there's no net cost to the city for this, since it's all paid for by the. Okay.
Correct. As long as the work that they do is all for the developments, which is what's being approved, then that full cost would be billed back.
Okay. Great.
Okay, I see no further questions or discussion. We'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to 6J. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-129-22 approving change order with Enberg Anderson for the contractor services for North Fish Hatchery Road Hub Phase 1 final design?
I move approval.
We have an approval. And Misty, will you speak to this as well, or Bill?
Yep, so I'll start this one, but Bill's going to have to kick in on this one. So Board of Public Works actually had some concerns that they brought up that Bill has answers to. So I want to make sure we get those out. We actually will end up postponing this at the council level because the Board of Public Works did not take action, and under ordinances they have 30 days to take action, but thought that Finance Committee has all the information that we need to make a decision or a recommendation, so thought it made sense to still move forward with our action. So what this is Hub Phase 1. The council elected their final design and what components to be included in that final design. So this then would be that change order to the design contract to get those pieces designed. And with that, Bill, do you want to talk about the concerns they had?
Sure. We had our Public Works had some concerns regarding why there was, an increase, even though we were doing less of the project. There were several areas of the project that we weren't going to be doing. And so we made contact with the architect engineers of the firm just to ask them those questions and explain things to you. I did send out an email just a little while ago to all the council and Chad and the mayor regarding the architect's explanation to the questions that we had. And the questions were, and Jim could correct me if I'm wrong, but why we were seeing an increase even though we were decreasing the scope of the project. And originally the design contract was for $2.4 million, and it was, I forget what the percentage of that was. They based their engineering fee on a percentage of the project cost. Well, we're not doing some of those. We were looking at them or considering those during the development or the scoping phase of the project, and then we decided not to do those things. But what we do, I'm getting a little confused here. What we do have is the increased costs are based upon the increased construction costs and the pump track that we elected to go forward with, and the things that were crossed out of the scope of the project were never really in the original budget for the construction. If we had included those, there would be, whatever, $5 million for those projects, but we did not include those in there. But basically, it's we've got an increase in costs due to construction and the timing, the amount of time it's going to take to get this done. And there was a question that the board had regarding the change in firms for their subconsultant. And what happened there was there was an engineer that worked for Strand, and he transferred, or he got a new job over EOR, so he took the contract with him over there. So there's no net change for any of the scope or the cost increase or decrease for that change in scope. So Scott, you got something?
No, just, the project evolved as the Common Council realizes as the scope changes and those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, as Bill indicated, their original engineering percentage was 9.8 of the construction. And with the increase of the construction budget, the percentage of the engineering actually went down to 7.9%, which is, I think, if Bill can comment, I think that's pretty favorable engineering cost as it relates to the cost of the project.
Very good. Discussion from the committee. Alder Gerhart.
I guess I'm just questioning for Jim. Do you feel like you got all the questions answered, or what came up in Public Works was addressed sufficiently for you?
I think part of the confusion was everything that was proposed, and then we were talking about taking things away. So when this came out, it was just a question of process, and they thought that basically the cost should have been less than an increase. But we got a memo for this, and plus with Bill and Scott's explanation, that satisfies me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. First, this is kind of for Scott. In terms of, I guess my concern is just obviously we can pass this here, presumably, but going to council and delaying it. Obviously, we're not having that first meeting in July. I'm just concerned about an additional delay and getting this project going for next year. Just given inflation and delays can be expensive. So,
well, I do agree, Gabriella. What we are looking to do, and Bill can kind of chime in on this, once the contract is approved, it can take up to 3 or 4 months to put together the construction documents. So if it's approved in July, at the end of July, it'll give us August, September, October. But we're really targeting a bid release. And again, I defer to the engineering department on when would be the best time to do that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a spring construction with hopefully completion in 2023. So, certainly I think, delays cost money, that's for sure. But, I think it can be something that can be done within the calendar, and what typically is the typical process for a construction of this size. But certainly I defer to Bill on anything that he might want to add.
What Scott had mentioned is pretty accurate. I think bidding out in the fall, in winter for spring construction start you won't see any impacts. It's I don't think that the architect they'd like to get started on things or assurances that they are going to get paid or approval of the work that's going to be done. But, I think there's still some things that they can be doing over the next month under the original scope that would take up that work. And we can still stay on track for, the proposed letting of project.
But when does Board of Public Works next meet? Is it before the
July 19th?
July 19th.
18th, sorry, it's Monday. 18th.
And is there no mechanism to, I know there's statutory requirements for Board of Public Works that's different from some committees, if I'm not mistaken. So is there no possibility that we could pass it to kind of move this forward? Is there a way to pass it with a contingency that, this assumes that Board of Public Works approves this? And if not, it can come back to council for additional discussion or something so that we can just get the ball rolling?
So this is it's an ordinance that says that the referred committees, so since council referred this out of Board of Public Works, they have 30 days to make an action on it or a recommendation on it. So since Board of Public Works hasn't done that yet, you would be going against the city's ordinances by acting on it tonight. Because the alternative, of course, is if you don't like that rule, we could change the ordinance if we wanted to not make that a thing. But right now, under the ordinances, it is required to postpone it.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. Moving on. Any further discussion? Hearing none, place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next item, action item of 6K. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-131-22, authorizing the approval of a Microsoft Enterprise License Agreement renewal?
I move approval.
We have approval. Misty.
Yep, the short of this one is Microsoft is expensive, but it is ingrained in a lot of the work that the city does. So we are up for our renewal. It is over budget. The way to meet that would be a couple of other projects that came in under budget, reallocating that, but then also delaying any computer replacements that were currently scheduled to the next year in order to stay within the total amount that's allowed. So while it's not an ideal budget amendment, it is something that Microsoft would take over, right? So we use Microsoft for all of our functions across all of our departments, and it's something that we really have to do. It is based off of state bid pricing as well. So we got as good of a pricing as we could get. There is a staff memo. It didn't get included in Finance Committee, but I believe it's in the council packet, or I could send it out to all of you guys too, that talks a little bit more about why it went over budget and what the ramifications are.
Questions, discussion from the committee? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Let's see. Where am I at here? Moving on to item 6I. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-134-22, approving the collateral assignment of agreement for subdivision improvements in the second edition to plat of Terra Mesa?
I move approval.
We have approval. And who will speak to this item?
I'll start this one as well. Yep. So this is something for the second edition to the plat. We did the exact same thing for the first edition to the plat. Ultimately, there's a bank that's underwriting a lot of the costs, and they want to have not just the responsibilities if the development falls through, but also all the rights of that. So we're assigning, if we need to, we would assign that development agreement over to the bank in total.
So if a developer goes under, the bank will assume and move forward with the project then?
Yep, they would have the rights as well as the responsibilities for it. Yep.
Great.
Either themselves or find another developer or somehow keep the project moving.
Sure, otherwise the project would just come to a halt and sit still. Is there discussion from the committee? Seeing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Motion carries. Then we will move on to 6M. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-136-22, approving the on-base agenda enhancement project?
I move approval.
We have an approval. Misty.
OnBase is the software that we use to generate all of the agendas and the packets and the minutes and all of that. There is an upgrade available to the agenda portion of the software that we would like to move forward with. This would be the first project in the TID closure money that was authorized in the investment plan first, then by the 2022 budget amendment, and then now we're asking for permission to enter into a contract. This is one that should pretty significantly streamline our processes internally, but also believe it's something that we're going to be forced to do at some point in the relatively near future. So we'd rather get on it now, get the benefit of those process improvements while we have the funding available to get it done.
Very good. Yes, discussion. Alder Gerhart.
Is there any benefit to the public-facing part of the website, or is this mostly a benefit internally?
I believe it's just internally, but I will follow up and find out.
Thanks.
Additional questions or discussion? Seeing none, we'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next item, action item 6N. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-139-22, approving purchase of 2023 Ford F-150 Lightning utility truck, direct referral?
I move approval.
We have approval. And Misty, will you speak to this resolution?
Yeah, well, I'll start it. So the utility department was authorized to purchase a new truck last year, actually. And because of supply chain issues and all of that, we've been having a hard time finding a vehicle. There is an expected opening of electric vehicle purchases. So this is an electric vehicle. The window of purchase is relatively small. So we're trying to get proactive approval from you so that we can make that purchase when it comes through. It is a little bit over what we had budgeted for the traditional vehicle, but the ongoing gas savings from there obviously would help the utility fund overall. And then there's a tar kettle that they were planning to purchase in this year, I believe. But we're hoping with our Town of Madison negotiations, the Town of Madison has a tar kettle that is used, but in still pretty good shape. So we're hopeful we can negotiate with the City of Madison for us to take over that tar kettle and not have to purchase a new one yet. Then we can repurpose that money to help pay for the additional cost of this electric truck.
All right, discussion. Alder Garrett.
Just wanted to say I'm really excited, and also really want to acknowledge the department for finding money in their budget to kind of save that hybrid electric vehicle fund for when the departments really can't make it work in the budget. So this is great. Thanks.
All right. Additional discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next action item, 6O. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-140-22, approving purchase of 2022 Ford electric truck, direct referral?
Well, I was waiting for Gabriella to make that motion, but I'll move approval.
All right. We have approval. Go ahead, Misty.
So this is the exact same vehicle, but to be used in the Public Works Department. Also more than what they had budgeted for their truck replacement, but they have additional funds from other projects or other purchases that have come in under budget. So not needing to tap into that fund that Gabriella alluded to, but also would like to invest in this electric truck. And for both of these, of course, it is contingent on that truck being available for us to purchase. We've run into some bad luck recently, but we are planning to be right on top of it when that window opens, and hopefully we can get those in the door.
Great. Discussion. Hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to the next action item, which is P. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-141-22, approving purchase of 2022 Chevrolet work truck, direct referral?
I move approval.
We
have approval. Misty.
This one is not electric, which might be why it took a little bit longer to get that motion, right? So this one is also a little bit unique though. So it's another truck replacement in the Public Works Department. As I mentioned, we're having a really hard time finding trucks that we can actually purchase and get in the door. Kudos to Mark Hodel in particular in the Public Works division. He has been trying to come up with some really creative ways to still get these things purchased. He found a vendor that has a truck on site that agreed to hold it for us for $1,000 kind of down payment that we were able to put on our P card. We will get that money back if for whatever reason council decides tonight that they don't want to proceed with this purchase. But he did put that $1,000 down so that we will hopefully be able to get this truck and be able to use it for operations. And then the vendor also did give us a discount to get it. I think it either matched state contract or got really close to what state contract was. So we know that it's a good price.
Good. Discussion. Hearing none, place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carried. Moving on to 6Q. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-143-22, authorizing additional purchase of water meters and radios, direct referral?
I move approval.
We have an approval. Misty.
So this is permission to purchase more water meters and radios. So this is a piece of equipment that's needed for every new residential home in order for us to measure and bill for the water that they use. Because of the supply chain issues, again, seems to be the theme of the night, the cost is more than we expected. We'd also like to have more on stock or more on hand, if possible, than what we normally would because of the supply chain issues and the known growth that we're going through right now. So this additional purchase crosses us over that $25,000 threshold, which is why it's coming to council. But we think it's important because these are needed in order for all of those new homes to have occupancy when the time comes.
And just to reiterate, you said home, so I think you said residential earlier. It is for residential, correct? Not
Correct.
commercial. Yeah. Is there a question, discussion from the committee? Hearing none, we'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. And then our last action item, 6R, I'm going to defer to Misty first.
Yes. So staff has been working with Dane County on this item, and we would recommend that we postpone this to our next meeting, July 26th, in order to just get our ducks in a row a little bit better, make sure we know what we're signing and have the original agreement and such. So just would like a little bit more time to pull that together. So recommendation would be to postpone to 7/26.
Okay. Do I have a motion to postpone until the July 26th?
I move to postpone.
Okay. We have a motion from Alder Gerhardt. Those in favor of the motion before us, please signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to item 7, announcements. Next meeting is July 26, 2022. Moving on to item 8. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move adjournment.
All right, motion made by Alder Wheeler. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. We are adjourned at 5:57 p.m.